Languaging in school, that is, linguistic practices in schools and what do they do to us. Now, if we look at schools, we need to remember that whatever language in education policy is made, it is not just related to education, but it is politically motivated. Whether we accept it or whether we don't accept it, there is definitely politics attached to the whole process. For instance, if you look at your matriculation exam in general, apart from Sindh, for instance, you have to take the exam in your Urdu language or in English language. So somehow, although the provinces are given this chance to support their regional languages, they have to be seen from, if you look at the issue from a national point of view, they have to be seen in an inferior status. And to maintain that prestige of one language, that is, for instance, Urdu language, over other languages, that has to be made the main medium of education. So if you move on to the higher education, again, it is either English or Urdu. So you can't have study other subjects or FSC even in Urdu, but you can't possibly study any subject in other languages like Punjabi. If you move into science and if you move in higher up in the higher grades in the higher education, then even Urdu somehow is dropped and only English language is maintained. So remember, when we are encouraging English language, we are encouraging it because it is an international language, but it is also the language of the elite. So we need to remember, again, there are politics involved in it. Then languaging in schools is also geared towards affiliation with the markets outside. So more and more, the educational institutions need to mold their students so they can fit into the market. So they look at the markets and they see what are the skills or what are the language skills in this case that their students would need, and they equip them with those skills. And of course, we all know, living in Pakistan, for instance, that those who know English language do get an edge over others, not always, but most of the times. And that is why you see that even in schools, they police the language of the children, at times through punishments, at times through feedback, at times through encouraging only those who speak in English language. So we had this case of, in our research, we had this case of one school, a model, a public school, in which there were two sections, one of English language and the other English language instruction, and the other was Urdu medium sections. And this girl from the Urdu medium section reported that they would not even know that there were ever any chances for participation in extracurriculars. And they would simply see that these girls from English medium school coming back who had been participating in some inter-school competitions. Similarly, she said, we would go to this computer lab and in our regular period, and we were told to go back to our class because the English medium section was working on something. And all those things, this discrimination, even there was this different uniform for both, and there was a sense of shame attached to being in an Urdu medium section rather than an English medium section. This policing of language affects the identity and self-esteem of the children. So languaging in school is related to knowing the standard language, the prestige variety, That is why the schools pay a lot of attention to the teaching of the standard language, which is also a prestige language in the language policy. Please remember that the language chosen is often chosen as a medium of instruction or to be taught usually is divorced from the languaging of the children at home. So a child might not actually use that standard variety at home or even that language at home in which that child is being taught certain subjects. And it can have a very negative effect on the learning of the content for the children who at times are forced to rote learn the material because they cannot understand it, and at times the parents also, not knowing that language, are not able to help them academically. So language related hidden curriculum in schools is very subtle, but it's very potent. So those encouragements, those remarks, those little comments that you come across, if you know the standard language or you don't know the standard language, affects how children look at the language itself. In our concluding comments, we can say that within education, there is always this tension between the local, national, and international. So when you're teaching the children, we need to sort of always make some decisions regarding which languages should be there. Even if we are talking about it academically, the need for the local language is definitely there if the child is going to work in Pakistan. And then there is this national language, which is equally important. And then there is this also international language. In any case, more often than not, schools control bilingualism, try to stop bilingualism, and they try to sort of enforce monolingualism. That is, although they teach other languages, they say use only this language. So they try to control it.